Hey guys, welcome to another episode of LiaTalks. Today is going to be more Doctor Who. I promise not all of them will be about Doctor Who, but this one is because the idea came to me and I liked it. Also, if I have computer issues, it's because I am using a script today, so yeah, I don't think I'll be yelling at my computer. I think I fixed the thing, but if I do, well, you guys know. I'm going to see if I can make this work. Alright, let's do this. Bit of background for you first. So there's this YouTube channel called Council of the Geeks where a few geeky people make videos about geeky things. Really specific, I know. Anyway, there's a couple of videos ranking various elements of Doctor Who, namely companions, worst one-time villains, best one-time villains, and recurring villains. Links to these all in the description because they're great. Well, I really like the whole ranking thing, but because those four have been done, I'm going to rank something else, namely episode sequences. Episode sequences basically means two-parters, but because there is one three-parter, I have to call them something else. Now, over the course of New Who, there have been 19 such episode sequences. However, since I haven't finished Series 8, one of them, Dark Water/Death in Heaven, will not be on the list, making a total of 18. That's a lot to get through, so let's go! Alonzi! I think I shifted my camera. I'm not sure. I can't really tell. Starting from the bottom, we have The Time of Angels and Flesh and Stone. This one, in my opinion, was pretty much a failure from the word go. I disliked River in Silence in the Library and was hoping I'd like her better here, but I didn't at all. In fact, I hated her more. And more importantly, there were way too many changes made to the Weeping Angels. In Blink, we were given an enemy that was so simple and yet so dangerous and not to mention so original, and the changes made pretty much destroyed that with the whole neck-breaking thing and the angel in Amy's head and Angel Bob. I mean, what even was that? The only thing that sort of worked was the whole image of an angel thing, but as some people have noticed, that led to a plot hole in the God Complex where there was an image of the angel in the hotel that did not, in fact, become an angel. And the end was just stupid. I mean, come on. Slightly better, and a lot of people are going to hate me for this one too, is The End of Time Parts 1 and 2. Like I said, I'm going to get a lot of hate because so many people loved it. I don't really get why. The plot line was weird and scattered and made no sense. I feel as though the whole master race thing was more meant to be a joke and not a very good one at that than something of actual meaning. I don't see why the cactus people had to be in it at all, other than to make us think R.I.P. Banacafalata. Oh, and to see Anderson from Sherlock quite literally being a prick.
God bless the cactuses!
That's cacti.
That's racist!
And the same goes for the whole Donna knocking out all the clones weirdness. Even the attempt to explain the Master's drum thing didn't really work. RTD is so good at coming up with explanations for things. The finales of every single one of his series are proof, and I think he could have done so much better. The only saving graces, in my opinion, were the reward at the end, and of course Wilfred Mott, who is awesome. Next up, and again, people are not going to like this, is The Pandora Opens and The Big Bang. Like in End of Time, the plotline was pretty bad. It wasn't as scattered as End of Time. In fact, it was relatively coherent. My biggest problem was that there was just so much packed into it, none of which really got resolved by the end. Chameleon Circuit put it pretty well when they wrote a song about the Big Bang ending with I Hope We Didn't Confuse You. Link in the description. Great song. Sorry. In 15th place, we have The Impossible Astronaut and Day of the Moon, another one everybody liked. To me, it was just sort of boring. There isn't really much to be said about it. The only reason it doesn't rank lower is because it introduced the silence, which is important, and because Canton Everett Delaware III is just made of awesome. Moving right along to Silence in the Library and Forest of the Dead. This is another one that everyone loves, but I found relatively meh. The plotline, again, didn't make much sense. I didn't really get any of it, especially the whole Dr. Moon thing and the little girl. And like I said back in the beginning, River was just obnoxious and annoying. However, the Vashta Nerada was a brilliant enemy, and I would love to see them back somehow. Next up is The Impossible Planet and the Satan Pit. Like in Silence at the Library, we have an incredible enemy. I loved the Beast. I also love the introduction of the Ood and the little hint of a development of Tenrose. I Believe in Her was just so powerful and beautiful, I can't even... Sorry. Back to the point. The whole valiant child that will die in battle was a cool sort of prophecy for the end of Series 2. But again, we have this plotline that it didn't really make sense. It made more sense than the ones I mentioned earlier, but not by much. The next two were a really hard call, but eventually I decided that 12th on the list was The Hungry Earth and Cold Blood. Finally, we have a plotline that really makes coherent sense from start to finish. I also like the Silurians a lot. If you've watched my last video, you know that I'd really like to see the angry Silurians back for a conversation with Vashta or something, and the dynamic between Amy and Rory was great, especially at the end when Rory gets wiped from existence, although As I've mentioned before, the whole being brought back into existence in Pandora made very little sense. So what did rank as number 11? That would have to be the Rebel Flesh and the Almost People. It made slightly less sense plot-wise than Hungry Earth and Cold Blood, but on the other hand, we have a really important plot point, namely the fact that Amy is a ganger. I also like the whole Doctor Swap thing. That was really cool. To me, it was just more interesting than Hungry Earth and Cold Blood, making it rank higher. Sorry, my sweatshirt's bugging me. There we are. Human Nature and the Family of Blood brings us to the top 10. This was another one that a ton of people loved, and I definitely can see why. The plot line was coherent, the Family of Blood itself was one of the coolest and most creative enemies, and obviously it was incredibly crucial for introducing the Chameleon arc, which comes back for the series finale arc? Not sure. The only thing that I didn't like was the way everyone treated Martha. I love Martha as a character more so than a lot of people, and I feel like everyone was just way too nasty to her. I get they were trying to portray a period correctly, but they really could have chosen and should have chosen just a different period in time. Next up, we had the one that made us all cry, Army of Ghosts and Doomsday. First of all, do not get me wrong, I thought this was good, hence it being in the top half and not the bottom half of the list. It tied up the Torchwood plot arc very well, and the returns of both the Cybermen and the Daleks were really well done, especially that hilarious quote-unquote standoff between them when Mickey says,
"It's like Stephen Hawking meets a speaking clock."
Hilarious. Of course, the end was crazy sad when we lost Rose, but the main thing that keeps it from ranking higher is that I wish Davies had given a little more on Torchwood 1's history instead of tying up the plot arc and leaving at that. RTD's finales are usually so amazing at elaborating a bit further on the season mystery or series mystery, and this one fell flat. Wow, really going through technical difficulties. At number 8, we have Rise of the Cybermen and the Age of Steel. I was worried about this one in the beginning because it pretty much follows the general structure of a utopian turned dystopian fiction novel. I mean, really, we have the rich and powerful mastermind who essentially runs the city, despite not actually being the president, who uses futuristic technology which seems benign, in fact is apparently wonderful, to control the citizens who remain clueless, that is, except for the resistance, who go undercover and try to defeat him and his army of evil cyborgs. However, they made it original and clever, and it worked. Using Cybus Industries as the name of the Resident Evil Incorporated, so to speak, was a stroke of genius. It closes the "they aren't actually Cybermen since they aren't from the same place as the ones from Classic" plot hole without forming another one, and bringing back Pete Tyler made it even better. Mickey and great, Ted and Rose were great, and the whole thing was very nice. But was that the best? No, obviously, because we still have 7 more of these to go. Moving right along to Aliens of London and World War III. The Slitheen, as I've mentioned before, are some of my favorite monsters in Doctor Who. On the one hand, they're incredibly dangerous, especially since they managed to squeeze their way into power. Squeeze? Get it? Okay, maybe not. Anyway, they're scary in their true form and even more... They're scary in their true form and even more menacing as humans with giant egos and tiny moral compasses. And they're freaking hilarious. I mean, really. They fart periodically and go boom when hit with a pickle. I'm already laughing. Okay, I bet ya. And the sequence itself was really well done. We got to see more of Vicky and Jackie, both of whom I wasn't sure I liked when I got to meet them in Rose, but decided I liked after watching this sequence. And of course, we got to meet Harriet Jones. Yes, Harriet, we know who you are. Like I've said, RTD's given us a bit of variety as far as finales go. His final finale sucked. His second one was mediocre. Here comes one that was really darn good. The Stolen Earth and Journey's End. At first, I really hated this one, mainly because of the Meta-Crisis thing, and I do hate the Meta-Crisis thing with a passion. As far as clone-type things go, the Ganger Doctor from Rebel Flesh was far better in my opinion, but that's probably because I really just loved Rose and Donna and hated losing them. But that was really the only bad thing about it. Everything else was brilliant. First of all, everything was tied together perfectly. Davies gave himself a hell of a time when he wrote Series 4. I mean, there were just so many elements that he scattered throughout, everything from the prophetic lines, "she is returning," and "there is something on your back," to the phrases "the Dr. Donna and the Medusa Cascade," to the disappearance of bees and planets and moons of Poosh, and I was worried that some of it would be left hanging, but no, everything was resolved, and what's more, it was resolved cleanly. Every little tiny thing that made us think, hey, what's going on? As we'd learned to do with Doctor Who's series at this point was taken care of, and better yet, Stolen Earth was a culmination and combination of everything that ever happened during RTD's era. Everyone came back. Rose came back. Martha came back. Sarah Jane and K9 came back. And Mr. Smith. Mickey and Jackie came back. Jack came back. And we got to see Gwen and Yato too, which was great, especially...
No broken bones. Quite lots of dignity. No change there.
I use that one all the time. And even Harriet Jones came back. We even found out what happened to Dalek Khan after evolution of the Daleks. Hey, speaking of evolution of the Daleks, it and its predecessor, Daleks in Manhattan, are next. Now, a lot of people didn't like this one, but I really did. Okay, maybe the Daleks characters were pushed even a little bit, even for the Cult of Skaro, especially Sek. But really, what else was wrong with it? I mean, come on, Tallulah was hilarious, Frank and Solomon just awesome. Laszlo wasn't too bad either, but what I loved most of all was that this is where Martha really came into her own as a character. I liked her from the start and still love her to this day, but up until here, Martha didn't take too much initiative. She had great ideas and was clearly very smart, but unlike Rose, who consistently jumped into action for the entirety of her first episode, Martha really didn't do too much at the beginning. All of that changed right here. Martha was the one who found Laszlo. She demanded that the Daleks explain what was going on, although the Doctor had to encourage her on that one. She brought Tallulah and Frank to the Empire State, found the Dalekanium, and zapped the pig slaves, and she sassed the Doctor at the end in a way that would make Donna Noble proud. Speaking of Donna and Martha and fantabulosity, at number 4, we have the Sontaran stratagem and the Poison Sky. I always love it when the Doctor and his companion come back to present-day Earth for the first time since the beginning, because it's cool to see the difference between home then and home now. And this was by far my favorite of those particular episodes. I think it was just really beautifully done and written. Everyone changes over the course of the episode. Okay, back to the point. Everyone changes over the course of the episode. Martha, Donna, even the Doctor himself, but my favorite was Luke Radigan. Luke Radigan was just fantastic. He started out as this bratty, annoying kid, and at the end he has this totally kick-ass moment of "eat my shit, you potato bastards!" Winning the bronze medal for the sequence Showdown is the Series 1 finale, Bad Wolf and the Parting of the Ways. God, this was awesome. There were parts of it that were just a big joke, like the evil game shows, and other parts that were dead serious, like the epic psychological showdown between the Doctor and the Daleks that would be a recurring motif for tons of stories to come, and others that were just so damn sad. I like Jackie and Nikki even better here than in Aliens of London, and Rose. Oh, God. Rose was just amazing. Saying goodbye to Nine was painful, but hey, it was well done. But the best part about it was how well it was written. It was clear, clever, and coherent, and it tied up the Bad Wolf arc in a totally unexpected way. Honestly, it was beautiful. My only issue was that compared to other Doctor Who series finales, it was a bit simple. I would have liked a few more elements instead of just the one premise, which means that edging out Bad Wolf and the Parting of the Ways by a tiny little bit is our silver medalist, Utopia, The Sound of Drums, and Last of the Time Lords. Little hand, I don't know what that was. This one was the epitome of a near-perfect series finale. Remember that whole thing about the Series 1 arcs being a bit simple? Utopia fixed this problem by setting up the added element of the Toclafane, although we don't know that until Last of the Time Lords. The plot arc could have easily been tied up without the Toclafane and the TARDIS turned Paradox Machine, but adding it in there just makes the plot so much more interesting. And as for the rest of it, well, it was just beautiful. Bringing Jack back was fantastic. I loved Ten, Martha, and Jack as a team, and I loved the nemesis tension between the Master and the Doctor. But the best part about it was the fact that it featured the best character exit ever. My one correction, I would have liked an explanation of the future kind and maybe a bit more on Shantho because she was adorable. Other than that, it was pretty dang phenomenal. But what on earth could possibly be better than all of these sequences? Oh, come on, guys. Was there ever a question? There was no contest. There was no competition. Not only my favorite episode sequence, but my all-time favorite Doctor Who episode in general. At number 1, the winner is, of course, without any doubt, The Empty Child and the Doctor Dances. Everything about this episode was absolutely perfect. Every single thing. I mean, I have nothing to say in criticism. Right from the start, you have Nine being Nine with a little mauve versus red alert thing, and once they land, he and Rose have their little debate about how they were right behind it, but it was jumping time tracks. And then the introduction to the whole "give me some Spock" joke, which, by the way, was great in my mind. And then the rest just gets better and better. The nightclub, the child, the little thing with Nine and the kitten, the phone call, Nancy. And then comes Jack. Oh, Jack Harkness. God, I love him. And his first appearance was by far my favorite. And then you have the hospital, and then Constantine, and then you have this crazy cliffhanger. Oh my God, the zombies are gonna get us! And then it's resolved with Nine shouting, "Go to your room!" Classic Nine, people. Classic Nine. And then the Doctor Dances happens, and it's just perfect. I said that I love 10 Martha Jack, well, to me, 9 Jack Rose is even better. The chemistry is just hilarious. You've got this little battle going on between 9 and Jack, and Rose is the only one actually being smart. And It lasts pretty much through the entire episode. I think the plot twist of having Nancy be Jamie's mummy was very well done. I really didn't see that coming. And the whole thing at the end with everybody lives and then Jack's coming back to the TARDIS wrapped things up very nicely. Guys, it was perfect. Nothing to complain. Absolutely by far the most incredible thing I have ever seen. Alright, well, that's it. Let me know in the comments what you think. Please no flame wars. Make sure to like and subscribe and also take a look at my profile both on fanfiction.net and now on my new one on Wattpad where I'm writing a novel called From Jenna with Love. Links to all that in the description and of course make sure to look at what the Fluff and Ophelia sent me. And as always, love and ducks to the lone shippers, hugs to supporters, thanks to Eleanor, Noe, Hanul, and Kizzy, shoutouts to my chosen sisters, and cookies for all. Bye guys!